Survival currency and preparedness report. You analyze how value reorders during prolonged disruption, where practical utilities outperform precious metals and digital assets because immediate physiological and operational needs dominate. You adopt a legal policy mindset by prioritizing items that preserve life, reduce foreseeable risk, and enable lawful barter under emergency conditions. You translate narrative claims into actionable standards that you can test, stock, and trade, while documenting provenance and storage to avoid disputes over quality or safety. Footnote. This section reframes collapse talk into a structured assessment of utility, risk reduction, and verifiable barter value. 1. Value inversion and evidence-based triage. You treat collapse as gradual degradation that converts comfort goods into survival liabilities and elevates low-profile tools into trade currency. You prioritize items that secure heat, water potability, vector control, stealth, food protection, and human mobility. You evaluate each item on 5 axes that are testability, multipurpose function, compactness, shelf life, and barter leverage. You maintain written logs of functionality tests in wet, cold, and low light conditions so that your claims are credible during exchange. Footnote. This section instructs you to replace anecdote with test logs and a 5-factor utility screen. 2. Fire security with fine-grade steel wool. You stock fine-grade steel wool because it enables ignition with minimal infrastructure, including battery contact, ferro rods, or directed sparks, and it functions when wet. You package small bundles in waterproof bags, label the tested batch, and carry redundancy in field kits. You also use the abrasive function to restore metal surfaces and improve tool edges, which expands barter value. You treat fire as a primary good that unlocks water treatment, cooking, and thermal regulation, which increases your negotiation position. Footnote. This section makes the case that fine steel wool converts portable energy into heat reliably and thus becomes premium barter. 3. Sterile compacts for trauma and hygiene with tampons. You leverage sealed cotton compacts as interim wound packs when gauze is unavailable, as accelerants for fire starting, as improvised pre-filters for turbid water ahead of true purification, and for their primary hygiene function. You store them in original packaging to preserve sterility and to signal authenticity in trade. You train on bleeding control so you can use pressure and proper sealing rather than relying on improvised packing alone. In group settings, you recognize hygiene relief as a high-value exchange driver. Footnote. This section shows that sealed hygiene supplies deliver medical, thermal, and morale value that translates into trade power. 4. Low signature control and food protection with mouse traps. You deploy standard snap traps to prevent food loss and disease vectors without poisons and to create low-tech perimeter alerts using trip lines. You integrate traps into passive food strategies by building simple snares for small game, thereby generating calories while you conserve movement. You vacuum seal sets with cordage and bait to produce barter-ready kits. You log placement, reset schedules, and sanitation to keep pest pressure from spiraling into contamination events. Footnote. This section elevates a minor device into a pest control, security, and food production system. 5. Water quality extension with battery air pumps. You use battery-operated aquarium air pumps to oxygenate stored water, disrupt stagnation, and slow biological growth while acknowledging that aeration supplements but does not replace purification. You schedule short daily runs and store tubing with spare batteries to enable immediate deployment. You repurpose the pump for small hydroponic circulation or low-pressure ventilation when needed. You thereby protect your largest reserve asset and create an attractive barter solution for camps with water at risk. Footnote. This section explains how brief aeration cycles extend stored water usability and create high-leverage trades. 6. Silent maintenance with graphite lubricant. You select dry graphite over oils for locks, hinges, zippers, and suitable mechanisms because it repels dust, tolerates temperature swings, and eliminates noise signatures. You avoid wet films that collect grit and cause binding under debris-heavy conditions. You carry pocket tubes and document where oil remains required so you do not misapply dry lube to parts that demand wet protection. You value silence as a safety attribute that reduces detection risk during movement and access. Footnote. This section ties dry lubrication to stealth, durability, and reduced malfunction in dirty environments. 7. Vector control and sleep integrity with mosquito nets. You plan for disease and sleep loss by stocking fine mesh nets sized for cots, hammocks, and improvised frames. You practice hanging methods, seal edges with clips or weights, and maintain repair kits. You treat protected sleep as a cognitive safeguard because decision quality collapses without rest. You view nets as high morale items that convert immediately into trade when camps are losing sleep and experiencing bites or infections. Footnote. This section positions nets as disease mitigation and cognitive performance tools with outsized barter appeal. 8. Mobility preservation with high-quality insoles. You treat your feet as primary transport by inserting tested insoles that deliver arch support and shock absorption, extending the service life of boots and joints. You stage multiple fitted pairs, rotate them on a schedule, and tape blister-prone areas during high-mileage days. You recognize that mobility is a meta-capability that governs water access, patrols, evacuation, and security, so you ensure it with small, high-return upgrades. Footnote. This section argues that inexpensive orthotic support prevents cascading injuries that would otherwise end operations. 9. Implementation and barter protocol. You build a small ledger for each item that records test dates, storage conditions, and unit counts so you can prove reliability during exchange. You assemble barter kits that bundle the item with instructions and minor accessories, such as steel wool with sealed batteries or traps with cordage and bait. You set fair value in calories, labor, or services to avoid predatory conduct and to stabilize community trade. You practice with all items so execution matches the plan. Footnote. This section converts inventory into a lawful, documented trade system that protects you and improves resiliency.